Hello everyone, welcome back. So in lecture series of variable in ESQL, we have learnt about the normal variable, shared variable, and in this lecture we are going to learn about the external variable in ESQL. Okay, so I hope normal variable and external variable is clear to you. Let's go to the external variable. So when talking about external variable, it is called as a, it is also known as a user defined property. Sometimes in people short as a called as a UDP, and they exist for the entire lifetime of a message flow and are visible to all message passing through the flow. We can define the external variable at module level and schema level and with the help of external keyword. External variable cannot be used with the reference row or interval data type. It need to be initialized with some value while declaring, like here I have declared with the blank string. Value of external variable cannot be changed from code, but it can be changed if we use the bar editor and using the property file. If you have a little bit knowledge about the external variable, so this all point will be clear to you. But if you are new to this technology, don't worry, I will be showing you each one of the line with the help of toolkit. Now let's go to the toolkit. If you remember in the previous class, I have created a application with name variables in ESQL. Under that I have created a schema called com.variable in ESQL. Under that I created a message flow called variables in ESQL message flow. And this is very simple message flow where I am using the MQ input to take the message from the input queue, and the input queue I am selecting as a orders.in. Parsing I am selecting as a XML and AC parsing, and parsing option I am selecting as a complete. Similarly in MQ output I am selecting the output queue to send the message to output as a orders.out, and in compute node I am selecting as a data source name as a s node ds. And further inside compute node I will be doing them some code logic. Okay, and you already know the thing, we have the broker schema declare here, and the level between the broker schema and compute is called the schema level, and between compute and function it is called the module level, and under function it is called the function level. Okay, now let's, before explaining you the external variable, let's understand a situation why actually external variable is so much important. I want to first explain you, later I will be explaining you, and later I will be uh, doing the live demonstration. Okay, let's take a situation where we have the different environment. Suppose we have the development environment. Ideally in any project or any industry, there are different environment like testing environment and the production environment. Or mostly in testing environment you will see the, it is the QA, or it is the development, it is the staging environment, it is the, and in the production we have the production environment. Okay, okay, so there can be a possible the value we are using in the value we are using in the development environment is different, and the value we are using in the production environment is different. Correct? Suppose for this example, let's take a situation. I am writing here some code to fetch the value from the database, this database. So to fetch the value from database, and also we are using the store id, we are using a store id to fetch the store id information. Okay, so value of store id in the development environment is d040, while the value of store id in production is d050. Similarly, the table from which data we are fetching in the development environment is orders, So here we can directly write the select a star from the orders table. So database dot orders. So it will fetch the data from the orders table. Okay. But while the table in the production environment is orders underscore prod. Similarly, if you see here, we are using the input queue and output queue. So we are using the input queue as a orders dot in, and we are using the output queue as a orders dot out. But this is the queue is valid for the only development environment. You can see in development environment the input queue is orders dot in and output queue is orders dot out. Okay, while in production environment the input queue is orders underscore prod in and the output queue is order underscore prod out. Okay, similarly for data source name in development it is the as node ds. For now I have the only one data source, that's the reason I am using the same data source for production also, but assume there will be a different data source for the production. Ideally it is a different, but here I don't have the two data source so that I can show you. So I am assuming that value will be same for the data source in different environment. Okay, it will be different. Okay, so what will happen, suppose ideally in any industry when the initially in when flow is developed, we mainly just deploy the flow into different environments. First developer has created a flow, and the same flow without making the change we mainly deploy into the dev environment, we mainly deploy into the qa, we mainly deploy into the staging, we mainly deploy into the production. But here the situation is different. If you see if you see the currently the flow I have designed has the input queue has a orders dot in, output queue is the orders dot out, and the data source name is a s node ds. And if same flow I will deploy into the production, is it going to work? Because production is expecting the input queue as a orders underscore prod in, order underscore prod out, and the data source let's understand some different data source. Okay, so and also they are expecting or store id as a d050, but here in the store id each in this message flow is d040. So each they are going to expect different value, but it is we are deploying the flow with this wrong information, wrong queue information, wrong data source information, wrong table name information, and wrong store id information. So what will happen? Business is going to face the issue and it will be a business loss. So what developer need to do? Developer is going to modify this value again to make the change in production. They need to modify this value with the order underscore prod in, they have to modify with the order underscore prod out. Further they need to make a code change for the store id, and further they need to make a code change for the okay data source name. So it will create a it will be a problem that every time developer will be facing issue that they need to construct the flow again, and they need to create a bar file and deploy. So that will be a very challenging for developer. And suppose now the flow has been deployed working perfectly, and after 2 months business came, a business told that no, we want the different queue. Instead of this queue I want to send to the I want to send a message, I want to take message from different queue, I want to take message from different. So I want to take, I want to select information from different table in production environment. After 2 months business told, so what you need to do? You need to again import the flow, again modify the flow and build save the bar file. So it will be a, and again do the regression testing everything. So it will be a very huge task. Okay, so if what to make the thing like that, we cannot touch the flow, we don't touch the message flow what we were designed at initially. We can achieve this all with the help of properties file. Okay, so let's try to understand it. So I hope you have understand what is the requirement. My requirement is that my requirement is that currently this flow has been deployed, designed, and this flow is suitable for the development environment. I need to make ready this flow with the production environment without modifying the flow, and this can be achieved with the help of external variable. Okay, so that's the benefit of using the external variable. Okay, again I want to summarize the thing. External variable, what is the problem here happening? Currently we have the input queue as a orders dot in, output queue as a orders dot out, and data source name as a s node ds, table name as a orders, and the store id as a d440. And according by seeing this all information, we have designed the our flow. But somehow business is saying that somehow when we will deploy this flow into the production environment, we need to again import the flow, and we need to we need to just modify each and everything, and we need to again do the testing, and we need to do everything. Okay, so it will be a problem. So that to achieve the same thing without touching the flow, we can do with the help of external variable. So let's see how can we do the thing. Now let's implement the thing. Let's go inside the compute node, and let's first declare a store id. Let's first declare these are the 5 things I am going to declare with the external variable. So let's see how can we declare these all 5 value. Okay, so let's use the store id. So let me declare, and what is the variable name I am using? Variable name I am using is the store id. Okay, so let me copy this. Same thing, store id, and it is of character type, because let me add the char, that is enough also. And but before that, it is external variable, right? So let me mention the external and the char, and you can initialize the value with the anything. Suppose I want to initialize this value with the blank. So this is how I have initialized the store id initially with the blank. Now let's initialize the, so I have initialized the store id initially with the blank. But before that, let me show you something. If you want to declare a variable, what I am doing here, I am using a declare statement, variable name, and the external keyword, and the variable type, and with some initial with some value. Either I can initialize some with something like that, suppose d040, that is also fine. Okay, or I can initialize with the blank, and later with the help of mqsi bar override, I will override this value with some information. Okay, now let's leave the blank for now. Okay, if you see here, I will be covering each one of the point already told you. So this point you already know, this variable, external variable, is also known as a user defined property. That's fine. They exist for the entire lifetime of message flow. So what is mean by this? Whatever the value you set in the external variable, it will be not like the shared variable by that after reloading the integration server, it is going to clear. So whatever the value you set, it will be available throughout the message flow, and it will be available in entire lifetime of message flow. Okay, so it is not like the shared variable that it will be stored in the form of cache and it is going to clear. It is not just like the same situation. It is a situation whatever value you will store, it will be exist for the entire lifetime of message flow. Okay, next thing is that we can declare the we can declare the external variable at module level. Either you can declare external variable here, or you can declare the external variable here. So either you can declare it at a module level, or you can declare it at a schema level. I follow the best practice as a declaring it as a at the schema level. Okay. Now next point is that external variable cannot be used with the reference row and interval. So let me show you. Suppose if I want to declare a variable, reference variable, suppose row where I'm just declaring row where with external variable type with row. Okay, and you can see it is giving the error. And what error is giving, just see here. So if you see here, the error is saying that external keyword is not allowed in conjunction with reference, ref, row and internal. So it is saying that if you are using external keyword while declaring a variable, you cannot use the row data type, you cannot use the reference data type, or you cannot use the interval data type. So that's the one point you need to remember. So we cannot declare the, we cannot use the external variable with the reference row and interval. It need to be initialized with some value while declaring. So it is very important to initialize some value with the, so either already tell you, either you can initialize here something with some value, suppose d040, that is also fine. Or if you want to set randomly, then initially you can leave it as a blank, and later with the help of properties file we can write some value. Okay, so it is best practice to leave it as a blank, it is a blank string, and later we can set some value randomly with the help of properties file. Okay, now the value external variable cannot be changed from the code. So it is saying that suppose here initially I assigned it as a blank string, and now let's, I want to set the some value with the help of code. Suppose I want to do like that, I want to set a store id, as store id is a character format. So I want to assign some value here as a d050 with the help of code. So it will give me a error. Okay, you can see it is giving the error. What error is giving? That the value of constant store id cannot be changed. So whatever the value you initialize for the external variable cannot be changed with the help of code. You cannot change the external variable by using the code in the compute node. It can be changed, it can be changed by using the property file and applying the bar override, that I will be showing you later. But you cannot change it using the code. So same thing it is written here, value of external variable cannot be changed from code. You can see I am trying to set some value against this variable, but I am not able to do, and it is saying that value of store id cannot be changed. And the same thing after written here, after initialization we can only modify using the bar editor or using property file. So this value we can assign some value against it, we can change some value against it, but this can be only possible by using the properties file and applying the bar override. Okay, now that's the basic about the external variable. So what we have learned till now, we have learned till now that external variable is called as a user defined property, also known as user defined property. Point number one. Point number two, we have learned that the external variable can be declared at a module level and can be schema level. It is best that if you declare at a schema level, but it is depend on situation how basically you want to follow, that there is no restriction. Point number three, we have seen that external variable cannot be used with the reference data type, row data type and the interval data type. Point number four, it is best, it is important to initialize with some value during the declaring the external variable. It is best, it is important to initialize with some value. If it is best practice to initialize with some blank value, and you can later change it, or you can initialize with the value and later you can also change it, there is no problem. Okay, so point number four. Point number five, The external variable exists for the entire lifetime of a message flow, and it cannot be like that. It is not like the case with the shared variable, like that it cleared after the reloading the integration server. So that's the not the case. Okay. Point number 5, point number 6 is that uh, what when we initialize the external variable, it cannot be changed with the help of with the help of code, and we cannot change the external variable like set and external variable and some value. It can be changed with the help of properties file and applying the bar override. So these are the 5 6 points that is important if you are uh, learning the external variable. Now let's switch back to the our requirement. Our requirement is this one that we are going to follow. So I will be designing first for the development. I will be doing testing for development, and same I am going to do for the production. Okay, so let's first design the flow. So initially I declared a store id, because I first my requirement was to store id, because these are the parameter I want to declare randomly. Okay, so I declared a variable with the name store id. I declared a variable called store id, which is of external data type, which is of character, and initial value I assign as a blank. You can assign something. Okay, there is no problem. Now the second thing is I want to I want to for tables, let's declare external variable. So for tables, we can also declare external variable and write some code to fetch the data from database. I have already written something for it. I can route like that. I can write like that. I can do some. I can externals. I can declare some external variable here, and let me leave it also as a blank. Okay, there is no problem. Or either you can write some value. There is also not a problem. Okay, initialize some value. Okay, and let me write some code to fetch value from the database. Okay. Okay, so this is some code. This is the code I have written. This is a very basic code. What I am doing, I am out in output I am creating a field called expediency. Under I am creating a field called orders, and under order again I am creating a field called orders. And as this contain a array of lists, so I am using the square bracket. Under I am selecting everything from table from this database as a t. So here why I am using the curly bracket, it is very important. If I will remove the curly bracket, it will give me the it will not give me the it will not give the error here, but when you deploy you will not get a output. Because if you want to pass some value to database from the external variable, it is important to use the curly bracket. Okay, so that's the thing. I actually face some issue. So I thought to explain you, because many people will not think in same way. Okay, so if you have declared a variable name table name here, I declared a variable with table name, which is again of external type and which is of character and initialized with some blank value. Later what I am doing, in I am output I am creating, I am selecting everything from this table. You can see this table having the 5 column. So I just written same thing like that, t dot customer name, t dot quantity, and t is what, and t is the database dot table name, and this table name is the same table name I have mentioned here. And further I will be setting this table name value into the user defined property. Okay, now two thing done. Third thing, now how can we set this store id and table name into user defined property? Now let's understand the thing. If you go here and if you see in the message flow template, there is an option called user defined property, and here is a basic. Here you can create the field. Suppose let me delete this thing. I will be creating from beginning. So I want to use for store id, so I will just write here, and here you have to write same thing what you have declared in the compute node, and here you can write any name. As this is a string data type, so I am leaving this string. If you want, if it is some different data type, you can select from here. Okay. And further, you have to give some default value name. Suppose I want to give the default value name as a store ID. Okay, and this value I will be in a slide, I will be setting under the properties file. So here I have a properties file, and in this properties file is nothing, just I have, what I did, I just created a file, and here I am writing some information, and the file extension I'm just given as a dot properties. Okay, and here I will be writing the value what actually I want to set. So I want to send as a D040, right? So I will be writing D040. Okay. For similarly, next thing what I want to send for the table, you can see here I have the variable name as a table, external variable name is table. So I will just copying the external variable. Again I will be creating here property, and I will be writing as a table name. Here I can write any default value name. Suppose let me write here as a default, so, or write like that order. Suppose this is related to order, so I written an order table, and same thing I can write here order table equal to table name. Table name is the orders for me, so I will be mentioning orders. Okay, now this is the two information I have already assigned, I will be already written into the properties file. Now let's move to other properties. So other properties for me here, the I need to also initialize the, I mean set the random value for the MQ input, MQ output, and the data source name. So let me do the thing. Suppose in this same message flow, let me give the generic name for the input queue. So for input queue, let me give the generic name like that. Suppose in speed of it, let me write that input dot queue, or let me input queue orders. That will looking good. Okay. So I just written, let me mention same thing here into the properties file. I will be assigning letter value. Similarly, let me mention here as a same generic name, you can write anything here. Let me write as a output orders queue, and let me mention here as a data source name, something like that. Suppose data source name. Okay, and let me mention here also as a data source name. Before that, let me mention the output queue also here in the properties file. So all the 5-6 information I have initialized into the, you can see all the 5 information, like the store ID, table name, MQ input, output, and store name. All the information I have initialized into the properties file, but still I have not defined it into user defined property. So let me just go to let me just go into the user defined property and initialize the thing. So suppose here, let me just copy this information. For the node properties that are, what I said it, that are properties of node, there is no need to define here. Here you need to define only the value that are defined into the ESQL compute node. So whatever the value you have declared, that is the value only you need to mention here, and against the default value, and against that if you want to mention here some value, you can mention it. Okay. Now if you are using some generic thing for the MQ input property node properties, so you can directly write here some generic name, and in properties name, in property file, you can write the value and you can override it. Suppose here I want to use the orders.in, so orders.in. Here I want to use the queue name out for output is orders dot out, and here I want to use data source name as s node ds. Correct? Now see how my flow is looking good. Now if I will again further explain to you this flow, let me close the flow and explain you again from beginning what I designed. I have created a application with name variable in ESQL. Under that variable I created a, under the schema I created a message flow. In message flow I have used the MQ input, compute node, and MQ output, and this flow is designed to take the uh, message from the designed to take the details from the table, orders table, and send to the output. This flow is designed to take the input message as a triggering, and in compute node it will fetch the value from this database and it will send the value to MQ output. And apart from that, it will also do some also assign some store ID. So let me do also, instead of that, let me write one more line of code, set output route dot xml nsc. I want to send the store ID also to output, so it will be a good order detail. And let me do the store ID. So it will store ID will be also assigned. Okay, now it is good. So it will fetch the information of a store ID and it will fetch the information from this table and will send to output for the further processing by the business. But the what challenge happened to me, business is using the different parameters in different environment. Currently I am assuming I have the two environment. I have the development environment and I have the production environment. In development environment, the business is using the store ID as a D040, and in production it is business is using the store ID as a D050. Similarly, in development environment, business is using the table name as a orders, while in the production business is using the table name as a orders underscore prod. Similarly, for the MQ input, in MQ input and MQ output and data source name, business is using this information, while in production business is using these information. So if I will write here in the MQ input, if I will write the queue name as a orders.in, and if I will write the in MQ output as a queue as a orders.out, and if I if here I will mention the data source name as a s node ds, and if I will mention here by default value as a d040, and if I will mention here the table name as a orders, so what will happen? This flow will only valid for the development, and again while need to be deployed in production environment, we need to again modify this flow with information input queue as a order underscore prod in, output queue as a order underscore prod out, data source name as either s node ds or with some other data source name as per business requirement. Okay, and with the table name as a, here we need to modify as a order underscore prod, and here with the value d050. Okay, so everything we need to modify into the code. And you know that if someone is modifying the code before doing the production, then it will be a very big problem, because the people will ask to do the regression testing again because you have did the code testing. So it will be a big challenge for the developer before implementing the thing into production, because he has made some different testing in the lower environment and he want to do some different testing in the production, because he has deployed some different code into development and he is deploying some different code into production. That's not acceptable by business is saying that you develop the code once and you test into the same code into different environment. Okay, with okay, so that can be possible with the help of initializing the common value. What I did in MQ input, I just given a generic name as a input underscore q dot orders, and this value I have initialized here in the q name. Okay, orders dot in. Similarly, I have given here as a generic name, any name you can give. I just given the name so that I can remember. So output q is output underscore q under q output q underscore orders, and I just given the q name as a the orders dot out. Okay, now similarly data source name I just given a generic name as a ds name, and here I have mentioned the ds name, and I just given the name as a s node ds. Similarly for the store id and for the table name, here you can see I have declared a with the store id which is external variable, and same store, and here I have declared the table name as external variable, and while sending the value I'm using the store id, and while fetching the value from the database I'm using the external variable table. So and this table name and the store id I am setting against the in the user defined property. In a store id I am just setting the default value as a store id, and this store id I am setting value as a d040. So currently you can see a store id is d040. It means d040 is this is d040. So this d040 means this is 040, and this is 0 this is d040 means this is d040. Okay, similarly if you see the table name I have just written like the default value is orders underscore table. And what is the value for orders underscore table? Orders underscore table value is orders. Okay, and so this will be replaced with the orders, and this value will be assigned against the table name, and it will here it will be a table name, here it will be orders will be placed to fetch the value. Similarly, if I want to move to for the production environment deployment, so what I am going to do, instead of making these all code change for the MQ input, MQ output, compute node, and the table name and the store id, I will be just replacing this value d040 with the d050, orders with the orders underscore prod, orders dot in with the orders underscore prod in, order underscore out with order underscore prod out, and s node ds with some other data source name. Currently I have only one, so I am using this one only. Okay, now in this way we can achieve our targets. Now let's first test the development thing. First, currently I have designed for development, so let's test this for development, and let's see how basically we can override this value. How can we implement this value into. Okay, so let me first build and save the bar file. Okay, so I have just made the change into the flow. So let me build and save the bar file. So either you can just right click here, I'll right click on a right click on application, new, and the bar file, and let me write some bar file name as a variable underscore ESQL. Okay, so bar file has been, just let me select the application and build and save the bar file. Bars file has been created. Okay, so I have created a bar file, and if you go to same location also, if you go to under the bar files, you can see a bar file has been created. Okay, and the file you can see, this is the property file I have kept into the same location where the bar file present. So what I just written some information by using the control s. What I did, I just written the variable in ESQL dot properties, and I save this file here. Okay, so you can save this to other place location also, but it will be helpful for me. uh, uh, I don't need to it will be helpful for me while executing the commands. So that's the reason I have kept the file into the same location. Okay, so either you need to specify the location where the property file is there, or you can keep this property file in the same location where the bar file is, so it will be easy to read the property. Okay, So I have created a bar file. Okay, now let's, how can we read the bar file? Okay, so to read the bar file, we have some certain commands. So let me show you. Let me replace this with this. Okay, so if you see, if you want to read the bar file, you can do the mqsi read bar minus b, the bar file name, and minus r. So let me execute the command and let me see what information it is coming. Before that, let me go to the location where I have kept this bar file. So I need to go to this location where I have kept the bar file to execute the command. So let me do the cd and the location name so that I can go to that location, and let me execute the command. You can see all the properties of the this bar file is now listed below. And if you see carefully, you can see here this store id is again assigned against store id. You can see here, from here, what I did, I have assigned store id with this store id. So this store id with this store id, this table name with orders underscore table. So this table name with the default value as a order underscore table. Similarly, if you see for the queue also, you can see input queue as a input underscore queue underscore orders. It is the same that we have assigned here. Correct? And similarly for the output queue, you can see output underscore queue underscore order. Correct? And similarly for data source name, you can see ds underscore name. Okay, so it is the showing whatever the value we have defined in the message flow. You can see it is the all the things showing. It is showing the variable name, store id, and name. So against the variable name store id, we have assigned a value as a store id. Against the table name, I have assigned a default value as a orders on table. Against the queue name, I have assigned the value as a input underscore queue orders. Against the queue name, I have assigned the value as a order underscore queue underscore order. Okay, against the data source name, I have assigned the value as a ds name. Okay, now now the thing is that what I am going to do, you can see currently in the properties file, I have mentioned the store id is equal to 40, orders table is equal to orders, right? So if I will copy the information to show you, suppose currently in the bar file it is like that. Currently in the bar file it is, just let me show you. Currently in bar file it is like that. So when I will override this file with the bar file, when I will override the bar file with this property file, this store id is replaced with the, because as this store id variable is assigned with default store id, so this will be replaced with d040. Orders table will be replaced with the orders, and in output input queue will be replaced with the orders underscore in. Okay, so in this way it is going to replace, and it will be make and change effect. So with the help of property file, by doing the bar override, apply bar override, we can change the value randomly. You can add the value randomly. Okay, so this is the thing we are going to do. Before that, I want to show you same thing, same information you can see from under the bar file also. If you will extract this bar file, let me extract this bar file for you. If you further extract it, And if you see here, you can see here there is a file called broker XML, and if you will edit this file, you will see the same information, that what I am going to do, I will be using for store ID, I am using the store ID. For table name, I am using the orders table. For queue name, I am using this. Similarly, for the data source name, I am using the DS name. Okay, so these are the value I am doing the override. You can see override one is showing with the what are the value I'm overriding. Okay, so this is called also bar override. Okay, now let me delete this thing, and let me delete the file also. So I don't want to keep some extra files. Let me this. Okay, now let me do the bar override. To apply the bar override, you have a command mqsi apply bar override minus b bar file name minus p property file name. Okay, so what, let me execute the command. So you can see mqsi apply bar override minus b the bar file name where I am applying the bar override minus p the property file name where we have the information that will be using. This is the property file name where we have the information that we will be using to apply the bar override, and minus r. So let me hit the command. You can see what is the information coming. Applying the overrides using the mqsa apply bar override, replacing store id with d040, table orders table with the orders, input queue with the orders in, output queue with the orders out, and ds name with the s node ds. If I will again read the bar file, you can see what information is coming. You can see before applying the bar override, we have the store id value against it assigned as a store id. It is like this store id assigned with store id. Now or table name assigned with the orders underscore table. This table name assigned with the order underscore table. Now this input queue assigned with the input queue assigned with the input queue orders, correct, and the output queue assigned with the output queue orders, and the data source name assigned with the data source name. After that, what I did, with the help of apply bar override, I actually created a file with the variable in ESQL. You can write with the any name. Only you think you need to remember the file extension is dot properties, and I kept the file in the same location where bar file is, so that it will be best for me, because I have, you can see currently I am in the location, this location, and this is the location where we have the file. This is the location where we have the bar file and the property, so it will be easy for me to execute the command. Okay, so what I did, I just applied the bar override, and by applying the bar override, what I am doing, I am just replacing a store ID with D040. I am replacing orders table with the orders. I am replacing the input queue with the this, and replacing the output queue orders with the orders dot out, and data source name with the s node ds. And you can see, so these all information store id orders name input, these all are the present here. This all value, what I am doing, I have what value I need to set against that, I have actually set it here into the properties file. When I apply the bar override with the command mqs apply bar override minus b bar file name minus p the properties file and minus r, using that, what I am doing, I'm just applying the I'm doing the bar override, I'm applying the property to this bar file. So you can see I replaced here as a or store id with d040, tables name with the orders, input queue with the order in, output queue with the orders to out, and data source name with this node. And when I read the bar file, you can see You can see now store ID is replaced with D040, and earlier if you see here it was the store ID. So this store ID value against D040 is overridden with store ID is overridden with the D040 with the help of properties file. Similarly, orders means ordered underscore table is replaced with the orders. Similarly, this queue is replaced with the orders dot in. Similarly, this output queue is replaced with the orders dot out, and even the data source name is replaced with the s node ds. Okay, and you can see the same information when if you again try to extract the file, you will see the same information in the broker xml file also. So if I will extract the file, I will be not showing you again, but let me show you one more time. Suppose just 1 minute. If I will open this file, you can see in overrides, I replaced the store ID with T040, table name with orders, in queue with the order dot in. Similarly, for the input queue, output queue as a orders dot out, and the data source name as a s node ds. Okay, the same thing we have in the broker xml file. We have overridden things. So what I did, I just declared the there in the two way I use the external variable. I declared the variable in compute node. Further, I setted the value into the user defined property, and as I am defining by, as per my requirements. So that's the reason it is called user defined property. Now, secondly, I use some default properties of the queue to set some random value with the help of properties file. Now it's time to deploy and test it. So let me deploy the file. Let me deploy with the help of commands also. It will be best to deploy with command. So I have already the command, so let me deploy it. You can do mqsa deploy the broker name minus e server name minus e the bar file minus a bar file name. Okay, so let me execute the thing. You can see deployment has been deployment is completed successfully. Now let's test the flow. So let me launch the debugger. So I have created the flow and I have deployed the flow into development environment with these all value in the properties file. These all value in the properties file. Correct? Now I have not made any. I have created a generic flow, and the information actually varying from environment to environment. That value I have set it into the properties file, and I deployed the flow. Now let's test the flow. Let me hit the flow with some random message because it is selecting, so there is no required. I just hit the flow. Now let's go inside the compute node. If you see here under the schema, I have declared the two variable, store ID and the table name. And directly if you see in the flow, and under the for store ID and for table name, I have not defined any value. For store ID I have defined a store ID, and for a table name I have defined a order table name. But here it is giving the taking the D040 and D0 and orders, and from here it is from where it is taking from the this properties file. Okay, now let me move forward. I just in output node I created a field called xml order detail, and under the order detail I sang the value as a D040. Further I just fetched the value from the table orders table, and if you see under orders table currently the value is total 61 record is there, and all 61 record will be shown here. If you go under the order detail, you can see all 61 record is there. Correct? Okay. So in this way, let me move forward and let me just return to our order output.q and just let me browse the queue, and you can see under the order detail we have the store id is a d040 and all the 61 record will be shown. If I will copy this information to show you, so let me show you. So if I will for you information, let me just count the tag. If I will count the tag, you can see total 61 record is there. Okay, so we get the what we are expecting in output. Okay, now let's take a situation what happened. We have completed the testing, we have deployed the solution in development environment. Now business given as a green signal for me to move forward for the testing into the production environment. But what's the problem happen? In production environment, store id we are using as a d050 and the table name we are using as a orders underscore prod, and the mq input I am using q as a orders underscore prod dot in, and the mq output I am using the orders underscore prod dot out, and data source name I am using is a s node ds, and you can use another others, business can use other name. Okay, but if I will not follow this type of architecture, what I will be going to face the problem. I will be to I need to again write modify this ESQL code with the some different store id with the d040. I need to modify here the table name. First two modification I need to do. For the third modification I need to do into the this input queue. Fourth modification I need to do into the output queue, and fifth modification I need to do into the data source name. These five modification I need to when I will go to the business people. Actually they are not much technical people, so when I will go to the business people and I will be saying them that as we are moving with the production, so this is following with some different parameter with the table name, these all thing. So we are going to again modify the flow and we will be creating a bar file and deploying it. So they will actually not they are not going to agree on the thing, because they if you will say that if you will say that there will be a 5 modification required in the flow, and after it we will create a bar file and deploy it, so they will become afraid. Okay, and if you will say that we will just do the some change in the property file, we will not touch the file, we will not touch the we will not touch the bar file, we will not touch the message flow, so they will become agree. That's the reason. And also it will save the developer time, so because they need to again create the flow and they need to do the testing. Okay, so that will save the developer time. So that's the reason I have the concept of the properties file came into a picture, and applying bar override. Okay, so now what I'm going to do for the production environment, I will be just replacing the value. I will be just d050 orders underscore, and what is the value? It is a prod. Okay, so and for the orders underscore prod also, for the queue, and for the queue also orders underscore prod, and this is same, correct? So this is all information as per the what it is written here. d050 order underscore prod in, prod out, and yes no ds. Okay, you can see all information I have written into the data source, correct? Now let's test the flow. Before testing the flow, it is best practice to use the different bar file name into different environment. So let's delete this bar file and let's create the new bar file for this also. So it is best practice to use the different bar file for different environment. So let me create a new bar file again. So I will be just, let me give another name, set variables. Okay, and to prod. Okay, just I given like name. So I just created a variable. Let me just created a bar file. Okay, this bar file has been created for the production. Currently if I will read the bar file, you can see currently if you will read the bar file, so bar file has been created. Now let's go to the path and let me copy the bar file name. Okay, now let me replace this with the new bar file in the commands. Okay, replace all. Now if you see, if I will do again mqsi read bar in the here, you can see. Now again if you see, it came to it came to initial stage where store id is assigned to store id, table name is assigned to orders, and the queue name is assigned to this. In output queue is the default value, and data source name assigned with default this value. Okay, now this all default value, generic value, I given the what value I need to assign against that, I given into the properties file. So instead of a store id, I am assigning a value as a d050. Instead of table name, I am assigning a value as a order underscore prod from this value, from this step, from this properties file. Similarly, from the input queue, I am assigning this value, output this value, and the s node this. So let me override the value and let me show you. So let me copy this command and let me let me just again copy it. Okay, now you can see the store id is replaced with the d050. The orders table will be replaced with order underscore prod. Input queue orders replaced with the orders underscore prod in. Orders queue replaced with the output queue with the orders underscore prod dot out, and ds name will be with the replaced with s node ds. And if you again read the bar file, you can see now store id is assigned with the d050, and if you see the previously it was the store id. So what will happen initially when I created the bar file, it was like that. This store id whatever we written here is assigned with the value called store id, and I retain this value as a d050 in the property file, and d050 will be assigned to here against this, and it will be used here. Similarly, for table name, I mention the table name as a in the user defined property is a orders underscore table, and this order underscore table is the order underscore prod, and this order underscore prod will be assigned here, and this will be against the table name, and this will be used further into fetching the value from the table. Okay, so in this way it works. So you can see all the value will be replaced. You can see tables name is assigned with this value, input queue assigned with, okay, you can see in order tables name assigned with this, input queue assigned with this. Similarly for output queue assigned with this, and the data source name assigned with this. Now let me deploy the flow. Okay, so deploy the flow, let me copy the command. I hope you know these commands very well, so I don't think there will be an issue. So it is deploying currently. So deployment has completed successfully. Now let's test the flow. Debugger is already launched. So let me hit the flow and see. So let me select this time my input queue as a prod input queue. What is the prod input queue? Prod input queue is the order underscore prod dot in. So let me select the input queue. Correct. Let me send some random message, or let me select. Okay, let me write the message. Okay, flow has been executed. It came to the debug perspective. Go inside the compute node. If you see here under the schema, the value for store ID and the table what value assigned. The value for store ID is showing as a D050 and table name it is showing as a order underscore, and this value is taking from the this property file. Correct? Similarly, if I will do the insert operation, you can see on output root value D050 has been assigned, and further if you see the table order underscore prod, we have also a table called order underscore prod. If you see this table, it has total 5 records. So this all 5 record will be fetched from this table and it will be assigned against the output root. You can see in output root all the 5 order 1 2 3 4 5 have been assigned against the order detail. Now if I will further move outside and let's see browse the output queue. So for me output queue is the order underscore pro dot out, and you can see the same information. Store ID as a D050. It is same what we are expecting for the production, and these all 5 order detail that we face from the this database. And if you see here, I have not made any change into the message flow. I only executed the bar override file. I just edited the file in the notepad, and I just applied the bar override, and this bar override basically overrided the properties of the uh, user defined property and the node properties with the this value, and we use the as per the different environment. So see how basically it is working. So this is all about the external variable in the ESQL. Now if I will summarize this to you further, because I have covered everything from the external variable point of view. Now it's time to take few minutes to summarize the thing. As you know that I am using the user defined property and I am defining the property as per my requirement. So that's the reason it is called the user defined property. So that's the reason external. Just 1 minute. The external variable are also known as the user defined property. Reason is that we are defining the property as I am the user and I am defining the property. So that's the reason it is called a user defined property. Now second point is that they exist for entire lifetime of the message flow, that you know the thing. So even if I will restart the integration server, the value will be there, so it will be exist for the entire life of message flow and are visible to all message passing through flow. We can declare the external variable with the module. You know that we can declare the variable either at module level or at the schema level, and okay, and with the help of external keyword we can declare it. Okay. Fourth point is that you already know that we cannot use the external variable with the reference row or interval data type. It need to be initialized with some value while declaring. Either you can declare while declaring the external variable, we use the declare variable name with the external keyword and the variable type, and we initialize with some value. Either you can write here some value, later it will be changed. Then later we can change by the with the help of properties file by doing the mqs apply bar override. Or if you don't want to initialize some value, you can keep the blank string. So I basically seen that the best practice people follow to keep the blank rather than assigning some random value. It is because if you assign the random value and if you not mention, if you will not do the bar override, it will take some value, and this can maybe hamper the business. So it is best practice to initialize with some blank value with the blank string. Okay, so we initialize the string with while declaring the external variable. Value of the external, you know the thing, the value of external variable cannot be changed from code. So if you want to change this value and this value from using the code, it cannot be changed. This can be changed only using the by saving by using the property file and doing the bar override. Okay, so we cannot change the external variable property by external variable by using the code. We can change it after initializing. We can modify the property file and we can do the bar override. Okay, now after that we have seen that we have a situation happen where we have the different environment. We have the development environment, we have the QA environment, we have the staging environment, and we have the production environment. Okay, and all these environment are taking different input queue and output queue, and different as a data source name, and different store id, and different the table name. Okay, so for that, what the challenge happened for me, if I will suppose create a flow for development with the input queue for development value as a orders dot in, and output queue as a orders dot out. Okay, similarly for data source name as a s node ds, and for the table name as a orders, and the store id is d040, some anything value that actually business expecting. So this will, and we can deploy the bar file into the into the server. Okay, but later when the testing will completed in the development environment, when further we will be moving into the other environment, suppose I will be moving to QA, so again we need to modify the this flow with the input queue, output queue, and is data source name, and table name, and store id. These all five parameter we need to modify. Okay, and we need to again create the bar file and redeploy it. Okay, and also we need the testing for that flow. Okay, similarly when we move to the production environment, again we need to change the this queue name with some other value like that orders. For this example, we will be using the orders underscore prod dot in. Output queue will be using the orders underscore prod dot out, and using the s node as a data source with the some s node ds, and I am using the table name as a orders underscore prod, and the store id is a d050. So in this way we have the different values. So this I need to do the code change, also I need to do the property change for the mq input, compute node, and the data source nodes. So this will require a whole change in the flow, and it will basically, we need to again create a bar file, we need to do a make a change in bar file, and we need to do what I said. We need to test the flow, and we need to redeploy the flow. So it will create a problem, and also business will not ready if you say that I will be making the change in the flow when I am deploying from one environment to other environment. So business people will be become panic. So avoid the changing into the flow, what we can come to a conclusion, we can to whatever the variable we have declared in under the compute node, that variable we can declare under the user defined property with some random name here. You can give any name here, and you can give any name here, and whatever the name you are giving here, you can assign value to the into the properties file. So I am assigning the store id as a d050, and I am assigning a table's name as a order underscore prod. So it will be a store id will be, this store id will be assigned with d050, and it means that the store id, this variable will be assigned with the d050, and it will, this value will be, value will be taken by this external variable. Okay, similarly what will happen, this table name is assigned with the order underscore table, and the order underscore table is the value written in the properties file is the order underscore prod. So this will be replaced with order underscore prod, and the table name will become order underscore prod, and this will the and table variable value will be assigned as a order underscore prod. Okay, so this will happen like that. Okay, now what will happen again, for the property that is the mq input property, you can write the any generic name, because this is the already property is defined in the mq input, and you can again mention this to the property file with the what queue name you want to mention for the MQ input, what queue name you want to mention for the MQ output, and what queue name you want to mention for the data source name. Which all property you can mention into the properties file, and this property file you can save into the same location where where our bar file basically present. It will be easy for me to to deploy the solution, because if you will not mention into the same location, what we need to follow, we need to before applying the bar override, we need to give here the some what I said it some path before that. We need to mention some here path before that. Again we need to mention some path before that. Okay, so that will also work if you need to mention some path before that. Okay, so to avoid the writing the path, we can just keep the bar file and the property file in same location, and we can then execute the command that mqsi apply bar override minus b the bar file name minus p the properties file name. With the help of this command with minus r, and with the help of this command, this whatever the property that you have assigned, whatever the property you have written in this property file, it will be going to override the property with the whatever present in the bar file before that. Okay, and if you want to see what exactly property is that, we have the mqsi read bar. Mqsi read bar is used to read the bar file and to see what are the all properties present for that bar file. So you can write the mqsi read bar minus b bar file name and minus r. This will list all the property for this bar file. Okay, further if you want to deploy the bar file, you can do mqsi deploy broker name minus e integration server name minus a bar file name that you want to deploy it. Again you can and just execute this with the same location where the bar file is present, and if you want to execute it some different location, just mention the path before that. Okay, now this is also, so what we did, I just saved this property file into the same location where bar file is present, and I did the mqsi apply bar override. With the help of that, what I did, the I changed the this before overriding it was the store id was assigned with the store id, table name was assigned with the table name, queue name was assigned with the input queue name, and the this was assigned with this. After overriding, what I did, I overrided the properties file and changed the store id with this value. Whatever the value that we have written into the properties file, that value I have actually assigned to the bar file. Okay, and for with the help of that, we actually did nothing change into the flow, and we only just applied the bar override for that. You can see from the development, whatever we developed for the development, I use for the development also, I use for the production also. Suppose now let's take example, we have the 5 environment: development, qa, staging, and some testing environment, and some production environment. So and for all 5 environment, using the different value for these all things. So what you have to do, just you have to change this value from the property file, change the value in properties file, do the mqsi apply bar override, and deploy the flow. That's all. So what are the steps you have to follow? Let me again quickly say that if you want to especially, if you especially mentioning some declaring some variable into the compute node, then declare the variable, and whatever the variable you are declaring, you have to mention into the user defined property, and that value we need to, whatever the default value is present, default value we need to assign into the value we need to assign with the help of property file. If it is the mq input property or the node property, then you can directly write here some generic name, and you can assign value with the help of properties file. When you have saved the value in the property file, then you can do the mqsi apply bar override, and if you want to see whether a bar override has successful or not, so you can do the mqsi read bar, and you can deploy the solution, and you can test the solution. So here I have tested the solution and it is working fine. Let me again send one more time. So you can see I just sent the message. You can see again it is coming with the D050 and order underscore prod, and this value is taking from this property file. Okay, and now I am setting against the output the D050. I am fetching value from this table. I am fetching value from this table, and you can see there are 5 orders, and I am sending this to output, and you can see the same thing in output. Okay, so you can see D050 and this all 5 order. Okay, so in this way we have seen the external variable. Now let me quickly do one more thing. If you see, so that already will do, we can use the user defined property in two way: defining external variable and later uses user defined property, and default properties of node that can be changed later overriding. The DDT is saying same thing. Either we can use the external variable in two way. First, either we can declare into the compute node, and we can use that user defined property and override with the help of property file. Second, it is saying that we can do like that. We can, the node property, we can assign some generic name, and we can write into the property file, and we can do apply bar override. Okay, and these are some command you can remember. Okay, if you talk about the advantage of using the external variable, advantage is that first is the flexibility. External variable allow you to the change the behavior of your message flow without modifying the code. So if you are using the external variable, you don't need to modify the code. You will design once and you can use with the many environment. There will be no restriction. Okay, reusability, you can use the same variable in the multiple message flow. Correct. Next is the maintainability. External variable make it easy to maintain your message flow as you change the value variable without touching the code. Correct. We are changing the value of this variable without changing the code. The main, if I say in one line, we are mostly using external variable to avoid changing the flow when we are switching from one environment to other environment. Okay, so with the help of external variable, it basically help us to change to avoid changing the variable value or the input or the node property. So with the help of that we can achieve the thing. Now that's all about the external variable. So I hope you have understand all the three things. What is the normal variable, what is the external variable, and what is the shared variable. I have tried to cover each and everything in very detail. And if still you have any confusion, doubt, you can reach out to me. Thank you all.